No, seriously, I had this really weird incident with one of our movies called Everybody's Fine. And what happened was, what happens with a movie a lot of times is you're kind of on the go. You can try to get everything prepared ahead of time, but you never do, and you really are kind of playing catch up. So you've got a location, you've already started to shoot, say you have a 10-week shoot, and you've got a location week 4 or 5, and you're still securing that location, you're still figuring all that stuff out, so that when you get to week 5, you're there and you're going. For Everybody's Fine, Robert De Niro plays a character who doesn't like to take planes, he takes trains and buses to go visit his kids around the country. It's a great movie, you should see it. I think one of his best performances ever. Unfortunately, was one of the 6 out of 10 that did not do too well. So our plan for filming the train scenes was they were going to just get on the Metro North and drive up to Boston, from New York to Boston and back 2 times, do all the scenes on the train, on that train, and that was going to be shooting in whatever it was, week 3 or 4. Come to find out, shooting on moving trains is the biggest nightmare in the world. I just had no clue. None of us really had a clue about this. And especially difficult with Metro North, who owns the tracks, and Amtrak, who own the train, whole thing. Anyway, so we get into it with them, and our insurance and their insurance can't meet. And it's over. And this goes to the highest levels at Disney, literally, the highest levels at Disney. We cannot for the life of us make a deal that's going to work with risk management. So they pull up those days, they put them at the end, and we got to come up with a new plan. And the plan was, another crazy thing, people own their own train tracks, which I did not know. They own their own trains, life size. And they have the land and they have the tracks. And so we found a guy, we were filming in Connecticut for the tax incentive. Found a guy in Connecticut, found a guy in Maine.
Oh, Essex, I think.
No, the guy, I can't remember where in Connecticut he was, but we found a guy in Maine who owned older Amtrak cars. He drove them down. We parked them on this guy's train tracks, green screened the train, and it wound up working out even better than it would have before, because they were going to be shooting out windows of the Northeast Corridor, which doesn't look anything like Denver and this and that and the other thing. And Amtrak stepped up and said, well, we've got all this amazing footage of our trains running around the world, or around the United States. And I'm prone to hyperbole, thank God. It all worked out great, because they wound up using that on the green screen. It actually looked really good, and on screen it looked a lot better. And you can run that clip, which is kind of interesting. In our situation, kind of pressing on us, maybe we avoided, a similar problem. You never know. Yeah. But it's something where, even as bad as you can, point your finger at the insurance people, sometimes they're obviously looking out for you too, and you also come up with a solution that's even better than the director imagined to begin with, which is, it's interesting. There's a real kind of collegial feel among the actors, and they really are kind of doing it for the right reasons, and you don't get a lot of outrageous demands. But you get some funny, interesting problems. One, we had an actor who always flew private, and we were like, can't do it. It's, we can't pay $250,000 on a $20 million movie to have you fly in for 4 days and fly out. And like I said, a lot of these actors are actually pretty decent people. The guy said, oh, don't worry, I'm going to fly my own plane. And we said, that's great, but our insurance company won't let you. That's just, it's part of the deal. You can't have them doing ultra-hazardous activity. So the solution is, and this is going to sound really morbid, you say, okay, you can do that. You estimate how much it's going to cost if they die on the way to your shoot, not on the way back, on the way to the shoot. How much is it going to cost if they die? You have to shut it down, remount with a recast and remount. How much is that going to cost? So you take out a life insurance policy on them for the flight in, not the flight back, and problem solved. And we saved on that movie. We paid for his gas and landing fees or whatever, and so we saved almost $250,000, and on to the next problem.
So it's John Travolta and Easy Got to Work with.
No, it was not. It was not John Travolta. I will say that it was not John Travolta. We as a company have had our ups and downs are 2 out of 10. And one of the things I think we've found as a company is you really do need the right distributor for your movie.
Do you do that ahead of time? Do you nail that down?
Sometimes ahead of time, sometimes not. we actually have a movie. I can announce this because it was just announced a few hours ago. A movie that we made called Me and Earl and the Dying Girl that we're taking to Sundance. It got into Sundance. That was announced today. It's in competition, and it's one of those movies that we just said the script's too good not to make, and the head of our company, who was a huge fan of it, said, "Let's just do it. We're not going to have distribution going into it. We're going to make the movie, and we're going to see what happens." And so that's what we're in the process of doing right now. Is we're going to see what happens. We'll bring it to Sundance. It's been very well received by people so far who've seen it. We're optimistic about it, but that's the whole purpose of the festival is to bring it there and to sell it and find a distributor. A lot of times we'll have distributors going in, and it affects things in a certain way with how the movie's made. Sometimes our job as a kind of a smaller company, these filmmakers, is to kind of protect them from the distributors and the big studios and have them make their movie, not for the studio but for themselves, and then we lay it off to them. But as I was saying before, you really do have to find the right distributor. You have to find the right date. I think is a big part of it. Big release date, the right release date. But the fun part of all this is the places like Sundance, where you go, and we were on the other end of this once a few years back, where we were buying, and the stories you hear are true. And this happened to us. We're in the movie at the Eccles Auditorium, watched this movie. We all looked at each other after it and said, "Absolutely." The head of our company said, "Yes, we're going to buy this movie," and we went all the way through the night. We ambushed their condo. The sales team was in the condo, meeting with another distributor. We came in there and with our own distributor who we were teaming up with, and found out where they were and knocked on the door, and then got ourselves in there and closed and locked the door with them and stayed till 5:30 in the morning, and then signed a single piece of paper, and that was it.